Kwasuka sukela. Last year in Mpumalanga, in South Africa, a young lady is attending a Christian school where there are services for the students every Wednesday. And she is a high achiever, so she performs pretty well in her class, and one of her classmates asks her if he can use her workbook to do some corrections on stuff that he was working on. So she gives him this book, and then when she goes to ask for it back, he's now telling her that he doesn't know where it is. He says that he had been sharing the book with some other girls who also needed help, and after that he just doesn't know what happened with the book. So this young lady then says, bro, like, so could you maybe ask everyone who was there with you to help you find it? I need it. Time passes and the June exams are coming up, and they still haven't been able to find this young lady's book. Apparently, the owner of the school is the pastor. He's the director, I guess, of events and just generally things that happen at the school, as well as the maths teacher. And he organizes a camp for all of the students to go on. This camp is being organized as part of the regular Sunday service that is held for the students at the school. So every single Sunday, these students have to attend the Sunday church service that this guy is in charge of. So now at this camp, this is a different type of camp. This camp specially is for the pastor to take out demons from the grade 12s. And that's crazy to me, because taking out demons means we are exorcising. Exorcising means not only do we need permission from the parents, but we also need permission from the bishop and the heads of the church. Am I lying, Christians? Let me know in the comments. On top of this random camp where the pastor now wants to put his hands on the students, the pastor is a well-off man, right? He is a pastor, and so she doesn't understand why he needs to have the church services on the school premises. Whenever they have maths classes with the pastor, remember I said he's the school owner, he's the director, he's a pastor, and he's a maths teacher. When they have maths with him, he insists on always putting his hands on their heads. So now they're at this camp, right? And this man is wanting to exorcise demons from these kids. So there are 10 people who are diagnosed as having demons inside of them. And one of these people is the boy who had borrowed her book. And during this camp, so while the pastor is busy with the removal or the exorcism or whatever is going on, this boy picks up a table and tries to throw the table at the pastor. Not only that, there's just a whole lot of weird things going on. She says that one of her friends who is spiritually gifted was one of these 10 people who had to have a demon cast out of them. In the same area where the school is and where this young lady lives, the pastor is also in the process of building another school. And people are saying that around the construction site, they are seeing something dressed in all white with red glowing eyes just sort of milling about in that general area. During prayer meetings at the school, people, they would have a very clear reaction, a spiritual reaction that we call your spirits coming up. So this would be in response to the prayer that is being recited. So people were most likely having ancestral burps, making ancestral or spiritual exclamations, like the boy who lifted up the table to throw at the teacher, just some strange things going on. Not only that, if you went to the bathrooms late, sort of after 8 p.m., in the last bathroom stall, the students said that they could hear footsteps. Somebody would walk into the toilet stall, flush the toilet, and anyone who happened to be in the bathrooms when that was happening would usually come back to the dorm rooms crying, shaking, not being okay. Some of them wouldn't be able to talk for days after that. Remember that exam season is around the corner, and baby girl doesn't have her book. So as she's preparing for her geography exam, she gets a notification to come to the staff room. Apparently, one of the teachers has helped her to find the book that she was looking for. The book was in between some other grade 11's books. She opens the book to check, like, is it actually my book? Lo and behold, it is her book. She then tells the spiritually gifted friend that she's found the book, and her friend tells her that she should actually probably just leave it there. She tells her friend that she's found the book. She also tells her parents. They decide that because they know that using urine that you extract from your body at sort of 2, 3, 4 a.m. and they're going to pour the urine over the book because the friend, remember, she's spiritually gifted. She did say that she's got a bad feeling about this book and she doesn't think that uchomi should be using it. So nangempela bahambe around 3 or 4 a.m. They go into the bathroom. Baby girl pours urine over the book. When they pour the urine on the book, it sparks as soon as it hits the cover. And so they take the book and they put it in the dustbin. Not long after that, one of the girls in the dormitories suddenly starts crawling around like a snake. So all the girls in the dormitory, they join hands and they start praying for a baby girl. Other people were having even more ancestral reactions. So bavugelwa amadlozi, bavugelwa imoya, just all kinds of chaos happening in the dormitories of this Christian school. The guy that she had borrowed her exercise book to was found in another guy's dorm room at around 3 a.m. Apparently, earlier he had been praying for somebody else and demanding that he pull out his ID book. So he eventually collapses on this other guy, and that's where they find him. Ngabo 3 a.m. exen Kosiam. The day after that, same guy that she borrowed her maths book to, the one who's collapsing on top of other people's children, goes to write his maths literacy exam and falls asleep during the whole exam. She goes home for vacation and she starts having fainting spells. When she goes to the hospital to go and find out what's going on, they tell her that there is some irregular activity that is happening around her heart. So she's having some cardiovascular problems, maybe something like arrhythmia. She's experiencing irregular heartbeats, and every time she baths, she feels like she's not alone, like somebody's watching her. Anytime when she's walking or moving around, she can see dark shadows in front of her. And I asked to check, is it just shadows in the corner of your eye? And she says no, it's fully fledged figures that she can see moving in front of her. Not only is she seeing shadowy figures in front of her, but when she's sleeping at night, she's now dreaming about, I just realized I didn't even prime my face. But let's see how it looks regardless. Not only are these dark, shadowy figures lurking and following her, and she's feeling like somebody is watching her, but then she has a dream of a lady in traditional clothing that she dreams is strangling her. When she has this dream, she prays, right? But while she's praying, she says that she can still see shadowy figures in front of her eyes. And every time that she's waking up from these nightmares of being strangled, it's usually around 12 a.m. Then she gets her exam results, and it turns out that she's performed pretty well. She applies through the Central Applications Office, the CAO, to several institutions. And even though she's performed well, At the places that she actually wants to go to, she's told that she doesn't meet the minimum requirements. She then just waits. The CAO tells her that she just needs to be patient. They're waiting for a decision. And so she stays at home and she waits. While she's at home waiting, her mom decides to take her to a traditional healer. Great mom, right? Because when things are not going the way that they're supposed to go, when you're a smart person and you know things should be going easily for you in life, but they're not, something is definitely wrong. They go to this traditional healer, and in the consultation room, the traditional healer tells her to go sit in a separate room, tells her to take off her clothes, gives her some medicines to use for her to cleanse with. While she's cleansing with the medicines, the traditional healer instructs her to ask for everything that she wants, right? So everything that she desires. And once she finishes cleansing off with the medicine, she then gets rid of it and does not look back when exiting the room, as it should be. When she finishes with the cleansing, she is also given additional so additional medicine for her to use when she gets home. As they're leaving the traditional healer's place, she gets into the car, and she says that when she gets into the car, she starts burning up. She thinks that it's the car seats. She asks her mom to help her look just to make sure that she's not imagining it. I hope this sounds familiar. It should sound like my own personal story where I went to consult with the lady from St. John's and I started burning up. I thought there was something in the chair. Naturally, there's nothing in the car seats. She's telling her mom, mom, like, yeah, she's at the car seats. So they pull over at a petrol station and mommy gets her some water just to cool her off because she's saying that her entire body is on fire. Drinking the water doesn't really help. She pours the water over herself and that sort of makes things a little bit better. And they continue back home and her mom decides to take her to her grandmother's house. When they get to grandma's house, she cleanses with the medicines that she was given. She also then does the second step of the cleanse, and around 9 p.m. she goes to sleep. When she goes to sleep, she says that she wakes up with a feeling of her head being lifted up from the bed. She is being made to face up. So if she's maybe sleeping sideways, she's now being forced to face up and lift her head up. When it happens again, she decides, no ways, let me go to grandma's room and go and sleep with her. Goes to grandma's room. When she gets to grandma's room, it gets worse. No matter what she does, she cannot get herself to move from her head being locked in this face up position, and it stays in that position for about 10 minutes at this point. Her neck then starts lifting by itself, so now without the head, as if somebody is strangling her, and at this point she starts screaming and her grandma calls for her mom. When her mom gets there, she is shaking and she apparently has the strength of a man. When they are trying to subdue her and get her to calm down, she is fighting them off, and her mom is just not understanding how this little girl suddenly has so much strength. Her mom then takes her home, and she's still not fully understanding and maybe also not fully believing what her and grandma are telling her had happened. So then she says, okay, while I'm sleeping, watch me. And she does. And the mother says that she got the shock of her life because things happen exactly as the daughter says. But not only that, she says that while all of this is happening, the daughter's body goes cold. It goes cold as if it was a corpse. Now, mom realizes, shit is real. Things are actually happening here. And so the very next day, they go to another traditional healer who throws the bones for this girl. When she throws the bones, she then tells them that somebody did something sinister with her school book. And had she and the friend not put the urine on it, when she used the exercise book, the intention was for her to have a mental breakdown, because unfortunately she had actually touched the book, so she did interact to a certain extent with the book and whatever was put on it. She was infected with what we call izilwane nezipogi, and also had been zombified. Hence, she's seeing all these dark, shadowy figures, and she's having all these strange experiences because somebody is trying to get her to do something on their behalf. Not only that, what was happening with her was meant to manifest as a spiritual gift, and she was then just meant to leave the school as if nothing happened, go home, and then begin executing things on behalf of this thing outside of the school grounds. When she had gone to the traditional healer and she got the bath with the herbs, that had irritated whatever had been sent to her and was entering her psyche and her spirit. That is what she was experiencing when she was burning up. She then gets accepted at UKZN, my alma mater, and she decides to leave on a Wednesday as registration will be closing on the Friday. This is now around April when she gets to campus. And when she gets to campus, her ears begin to ring. She's been too scared to tell everyone back home that these things are still happening to her, because for the most part, they tend to tell her that it's all just in her head. And so she's asking me for my advice, which I am happy to give in the next video. These stories in my DMs, Nkosi yami, woo. So let's break down what's going on here together. Angithi kwathiwa sama witch dogs. Yeah. We're going to hunt for the witches. Let me show you how to do that. You already know the very first problem is the location of the school. I'm gonna go ahead and say that school is constructed on hallowed ground. So that ground was definitely staked yabethelwa before the school was built. Number two, either there were already people buried there or there's a cemetery close by. 3.1, he found umnikazi walendawo, the owner of this place, and made a deal with them. 3.2, after staking the ground, he brought one of his deities or ancestors to come and consume that land. Problem number 2, giving your belongings to people you do not know like that. When it comes to things like school books, clothing, and shoes, you need to understand this. Let me zoom in on the exercise book. There are 2 things that can occur when you are giving out your exercise book to somebody. On the first instance, most exercise books tend to have a glossy or a sheen surface. Even if it's the more rough surface, the nature of the paper, that flimsy cardboard paper, or even the soft paper, makes it so that it's easy to collect what we call your essence. In the West, you would refer to this as DNA. So particles of your perspiration, your skin, your hair, saliva, things like that. The second thing that happens with an exercise book or a notebook is, if I have access to it, I can put something on it that is going to be easy for you to pick up with your hands or for you to inhale as you flip through the pages of that book. The next thing, my darling, is that you, like most of us, were targeted specifically for the fact that you are a high achiever. You perform better than the other students. I'm pretty confident you don't have to do much for that. You're not only a high achiever, you're well spoken. People tend to gravitate towards you. That's why you have so many friends. You're probably very beautiful as well. I don't think you had a profile picture when you messaged me. You're also the type of girlie that we say, wazalwa unenhlanhla. You were born inherently lucky or inherently abundant. That formula right there makes you a prime target for people who want to harness your blessings, your energy, your everything. Let's talk about the gent who's doing the harnessing. So, Ntate O, ki pastor, ki director, ki headmaster, owner wa skolo, as well as a maths teacher. There's a lot of roles going on there. It's giving me very much narcissistic energy. I'm sure he's the type of person who's very popular, and also he's quite wealthy, right? Very flashy, showy, has a very cocky, arrogant air around him. He thinks he's the cat's meow and all of that type of energy. That gent is operating on behalf of some very dodgy entities. His constant need to be putting his hands on children's heads is a form of harnessing. I've spoken about this before. When you are touching especially this region of someone's head, this is what we call ubuchopho. There is a lot that is going on there spiritually. I won't get into it in this video. Subscribers, we've been through it. You can also subscribe and you can get access to that very important information. This tendency of certain religious leaders and authorities to constantly want to put their hands on people's heads makes me uncomfortable personally, especially considering the number of accusations that there are of inappropriate conduct between religious figures or religious authorities and individuals who tend to be of a lesser or younger age than them. If I, as a parent, have not signed a letter, a notice, a permission slip expressly stating that I grant you permission to put your hands on my child, it should be illegal for any person who is within a school premise to put their hands on a child, period. Here you go, taking my child on a camp. I wonder if you guys had to pay for that camp. I wonder what the camp was advertised as. You are being taken to somewhere that is more secluded than the rest of the building. Why do you need to be secluded? If you're already having church services on the school premises, why not continue having your camp there? I understand maybe for a change of environment or aesthetics, but it's still giving very much sketch. You want to extract demons. Based on what? What is the foundation of your diagnosis? Were any of these students exhibiting symptoms of demonic, spiritual, or other possession before this camp was organized, or you just woke up one day and decided, I feel like casting out some demons today? That is wild. That is so wild. And the fact that the students' parents were not notified about this, that there were no other higher ranking religious authorities present, is crazy to me. I asked the viewer, were there any other people present there? She said, no, not really. It was pretty much just this guy. Sibonga umdali for spiritually gifted friends, because your friend helped you out so much, even though, as we'll see later, still unenkinganyan. But your friend really came through for you. By pouring the urine on your book, you were counteracting whatever had been put in, on, around that book to affect you. My students and subscribers, the part where she says that there was a spark when they poured the urine on the book, that's probably just a very basic chemical reaction. I can probably guess what was used on that book because we know the chemical composition of urine, right? So you would then check, okay, which chemicals might produce that spark when they come into contact with urine, and you can also factor in what material the book is made of as well. Remember, we always consider the most logical explanation first. The girlies could have imagined it. I highly doubt both of them could have imagined the same thing. Even if they did imagine the spark, I highly doubt that that would give rise to the level of psychological paranoia and physical response that we saw in the story. Let's talk about baby boy. Baby boy, baby boy, baby boy. First of all, when you guys eventually take a good look at his story, I think you're gonna find out that your pastor slash director slash maths teacher is abusing this boy, sexually and otherwise, is what's going on. Not only that, he's infected this boy with some or other spiritual entity. I can venture a guess, but I would rather not at this point in time. He's acting out. Not only that, he's executing tasks, little assignments on behalf of Lotisha. He's the one who came to fetch your book. He's the one running around wanting to pray for other kids. Honey, you need the prayer more than everybody at that school. You want to throw tables at that pastor because during your trance that you're in, at some point, your ancestors are actually trying to fight back. You're trying to show everybody else that there's something wrong with this person that they put on a pedestal and who is bullying the whole school. If anybody does care about that boy needs to go and be admitted to a traditional rehab ASAP. He needs to be away from the school premises, away from that teacher, away from just generally everybody, in intense isolation, getting the help that he needs to remove whatever it is that has latched onto him. It's giving me that whatever it is has latched onto him physically, mentally, emotionally. Once it catches his shadow as well, it's over. Him sleeping during his exam as well is clearly an indication of the fact that oh boy busy in the middle of the night. He is hard at work, honey. He ain't getting no rest. Now he's busy passing out during exams. That's wild. I think you'll go ahead and find that most of his marks are suffering. This is as a result of a combination of the psychological effects of the abuse as well as the spiritual infection that's going on with him. Now you're having fainting spells, my love. Your body and your spirits are trying to let you know that something is wrong. Going to the hospital, now you're being told you have an irregular heartbeat. Since when? At your tender age, still being in all of high school. That's wild. Arrhythmia only really starts affecting people during or after middle age. Essentially, your body is being used now by more than one energy, let's put it. Hence, your heart is having to work overtime. I'll go ahead and say it's not just your heart, it's other organs in your body as well. You need to go to a traditional healer who specializes in the removal of sinister entities. You can't go to a regular isangoma who is just a general practitioner. You need to find a ritual specialist. Umuntu osebenza ngokufemba, umuntu osebenza ngokukhiphela imimoya nezilwane. The lady who's wearing traditional dress that you're dreaming about is most likely the person that this gent, the pastor, is working on behalf of. The shadows that you see passing before your eyes, Tandwasami, I'm so sorry to say, but those are your colleagues. I'm so sorry. As I mentioned before, now your inherent abundance, your luck, is being harnessed. Now, even though you're performing so well, you're getting stories from the institutions that you want to go to. You're just having random difficulties in life when you know it should be smooth sailing all the way, because somebody is hardcore using that energy for something else. It's most likely going into the construction of that new school. Let's give your traditional healer a rating out of 5. I will give them 2.5, because you cannot first of all leave someone alone. endlini exhumelene noma esebenzelana nendumba when you are trying to expel something from them. They were giving you a temporary solution to what is going on with you. Maybe there were budget constraints on mom's side, or mom had concerns about the actual procedure that needs to happen. But honey, you just bathing in amakamba or iswasho and then asking for izinto ozifunayo, in essence, uyaphahla lapho. And those herbs are serving to just be a temporary barrier against what's going on with you. The things that have infected you have not been removed. The ancestors that need to pull up and actually help you have not been invoked, have not been called upon. Having brownie cookies today. You're burning up. Something in, on, or around your body doesn't like what just happened. It's also usually isithunywa, guides, leading guides, messenger spirits, angels, azizwani nemithi. They don't like imithi at all. In your instance, it's more serious than that. It's way more serious than that. You have several energies, entities that are not happy about what has just happened. And so you guys go home. The key is in the herbs that you burnt. You need more of that. You need a gang of that up until you can afford to go for your ritual removal of those entities. You need to go and get imithi ekuthiwa izishiso zenyamazane. That is going to literally make these things sick. It's going to make your colleagues sick. It's going to dissuade these things from wanting to lurk around you. And as we see, when you go to sleep, now you're being forced to do weird things in your sleep. These things are upset. You are making it difficult for them to do what it is that they want to do. It is enraging them, the fact that you are understanding what is happening and you are getting help for it, because they have a mission. There's something that needs to happen there. The next stage, by the way, is you are supposed to plant something in your house. That person who's just for now strangling you, eventually they're going to start waking you up. Yeah. So you are going to have to do things. You are going to have to create an anchor point, a portal somewhere in your house so that they can harness more victims. I hope that you get the help that you need. It's very, very urgent. Kukhanye, kwani.